Welcome back to Your Voice. I'm Deborah O'Rell, the host of this show. I represent Tuckner Sipser, Weinstock and Sipser, an employment discrimination law firm concentrating on women's rights in the workplace. So we help women with everything from employment contracts or separation agreements all the way to the more egregious pregnancy discrimination, sexual harassment, gender pay disparity, and all other forms of discrimination in the workplace. And this webcast is where I will be interviewing transformational women who use their experience and their voice to expand rights and opportunities for other women in the workplace. And today, I am thrilled to be speaking with Joy Murphy Stewart, which as I was practicing this, preparing for this, I kept thinking, that is such a great name to be saying live at 5, Joy Murphy Stewart. So I thought that's a great name. Anyway, Joy is a results-driven executive coach, consultant, and communications strategist. She has over 2 decades of experience serving as a trusted advisor to CEOs and senior management of public and private companies across the fashion, beauty, retail, restaurant, and technology industries, helping teams master effective communication and public speaking skills, foster leadership development, strengthen credibility, and build unique brands. And the thing that really makes Joy a unique coach is that she is a Reiki master practitioner who believes in mindfully exploring from within to align individual development with broader business objectives and cultures. And I definitely want you to explain that. So please join me in welcoming Joy Murphy Stewart. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Totally mine. So let's just jump right into this. And as I say in my introduction, this is about how speaking to women who use their experience to help other women or people, men, in the world. So what inspired you to get started on being a transformational executive coach? And was there some inspiration, some trigger, some reason you chose this path?
Yeah, thank you. I was always very interested in human behaviors, in the way we interact with each other, the way we navigate the world, what propels us forward, what holds us back. And so my first coaching certification was actually in 2010. I had been working in corporate America for 15 years already. It was paying the bills almost in most cases, but it wasn't really fulfilling my passion at all. So I went to a year-long program to get my initial certification in coaching in 2010. And then that became sort of a side hustle passion project for many years. And over time, I really noticed that the skills I was using in coaching were needed for the corporate environment as well. They were really skills I was putting into use with managing my own teams, with helping to support my clients in the way they show up in the world, in the office, the way that they manage their teams, their strategic thinking, their own executive presence. So it became very clear that this was something that I could practice within the full-time job. But what really changed everything for me and sort of catapulted this into full-time work, coaching, and leadership development was the pandemic. For the first time in my life in 2010, like many, I found myself out of work, out of my full-time job. And the thing that I was most sure of was that I was not looking to return to the old gig of full-time corporate communications and marketing. I really wanted to explore what was fulfilling me full-time. And that was really helping others to step into their greatness, to challenge their own thinking and their limiting beliefs and push through what may have been working really well to them for them to a certain point, but maybe holding them back from where they want to go forward. So that was the opportunity to really shift gears for me, and I was able to do so.
And did you pursue like additional training, or like how did you make that leap to take the jump to not find that safety security of that regular 9 to 5? And although I would imagine in your position it was not 9 to 5, it was more like 7 to 10, with all the events and things you manage. So was there anything in that to become that entrepreneur and no longer just a 9 to 5 paycheck?
Yeah, I definitely kept up with coaching training and made sure that was consistent for me all along. You know, that was my passion. So something that I was naturally always gravitating towards learning more about, developing more skills, seeking out workshops and webinars and online classes that I could take all along. I did dive fully into that when I found myself with more time and out of a full-time job. I also really benefited from the fact that so much of the world was out of work, that there was this incredible moment in time for all the strain that the coronavirus and its ramifications were putting on the world. For me, it really became obvious that this was a gift in time, that so many people were not working and so much of the world was just on a pause, that I didn't have that pressure of every day that goes by, I'm losing marketability, right? Because so many of us were in the same boat. The world had slowed down so much. And so I was very fortunate that some of my former colleagues at my previous PR firm actually invited me back to work with them on some one-on-one executive coaching, to build professional development for some of their team members, and to fill some of those needs that had not been met when the world was moving so quickly. So now suddenly there was this magic of my relationships and people that I really loved, and the opportunity to return to them in a new capacity during doing work that I really loved, and to be able to marry the two.
Wow, that really does sound like, you know, the dream job sort of scenario, or the dream scenario anyway. So now you're back in the office, and the skills that you help people develop in terms of finding their voice and their leadership skills and developing themselves into those kinds of positions. Do men and women communicate differently in the office? And if you agree, I do too, in what ways, and how do you serve that?
So the straight answer is yes, a resounding yes. Men and women communicate very differently in the office, just as they communicate differently everywhere. And of course, it's case by case. It's not completely fair to make an overall blanket statement, but for the most part, women tend to communicate around what they feel and how they want to feel and how they want to fulfill. Men tend to communicate around how they think and how they what they want to achieve. Women will often start their sentence with, "I think we should do this." It might be, "I think we should consider cutting the budget," whereas a man will simply say, "Cut the budget," or "We should cut the budget." There's no hesitation in that. There's no caveating that with "I think," or "It seems like maybe." It's much more direct, much more decisive and definitive. So that's one example. Women tend to apologize, right? So you've probably seen, there's always floating around on TikTok and Instagram posts about men say this, women say that, and how can you adjust in the workplace to be more present and have a more decisive manner in your communication style. Women will show up late for a meeting or send something later than expected and say, I'm so sorry for the delayed reply. I'm so sorry for being late. Men will just show up. Here it is. So that little bit of a shift, and you can acknowledge when something is late, it's the right thing to do, but shifting the energy behind that to say something like, thank you for your patience versus I'm so sorry. You don't always have to be apologizing.
Why do we do this? What? It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Hear it in other people, but I know I've done it. I know I say it.
Yeah, it is crazy. And I find myself guilty of it all the time as well. I think we are just, and see, I just said, I think we are, rather than just answering the question. I did it myself.
It's so true. It's so true. So how do you work with people, either individually or groups in organizations or whatever, to develop that professional presence of leadership, strength? How do you do that?
So let's start with, what is professional presence? And professional presence is really a blend of poise, confidence, control, and style. All of this comes together to create a situation where you are empowered to be able to influence and bring meaning and gain respect in any situation, to garner respect in any situation. And it's important because every interaction you have, whether it's with your boss, your colleagues, your clients, any stakeholders, people that are working with you or for you, every interaction you have either builds or diminishes trust, either adds to the respect and credibility that you carry in someone else's eyes or takes from it. So being aware of that and being able to use that knowledge to cultivate your personal presence, your professional presence is really important. There are three main pillars that make up professional presence, and they are your appearance, your communication, and your gravitas. Gravitas really being the most important. So first, your appearance, to have professional executive presence is really to have a well-polished, well-groomed personal appearance. If you are, going to work in an office, then your appearance, your dress choice, your decision to put on makeup or not, how you wear your hair, all of that is taken in as part of the mosaic. And really all of that appearance, your appearance and your communication style. So your tone, your inflection, your eye contact, the way that you carry yourself, your energy, all of that adds up to create a mosaic that equals your credibility. Appearance is the very first thing that people take in. And so it becomes the very first opportunity that you have to make a split-second judgment about you.
Yeah. And gravitas?
So gravitas is the big one. Gravitas really is our ability to influence or persuade. And that comes from energy, confidence. It comes from preparation again. And it really comes from the ability to maintain calm and control in any situation. So you don't always have to have every answer. And when you don't, it's okay to say, you know what, let me check on that and get back to you. Right. But staying calm and having that poise in any situation is really how you maintain that gravitas and how you maintain respect and how people will trust you that you're not going to get flustered. You're not going to lose your cool. You're not going to go down a path that you can't come back from. So, taking it slow, staying calm, staying poised in any situation. And a really great example of this that is so relevant in this moment in time. It's not about women. It's an example of men, but I'll share it, is If you think about President Zelensky of Ukraine, right? He has gained such tremendous gravitas. He has the respect of the entire world because he has stayed strong, decisive, calm, strategic in the face of just unimaginable stress.
Yeah. So are there exercises? Like how do you learn to do this? How do you increase your gravitas?
Yeah. So one thing that's really important, as we said, is preparing, right? Preparedness breeds confidence.
That's true.
Know your stuff before you go in. Practice out loud. It's really important. Less is more, as we were talking about in the beginning, right? Men speak very decisively and directly. Women tend to expand. We tend to fill the space with noise and just keep talking, right? Yeah. Because we're uncomfortable with those moments of silence. But having an endpoint, keeping your statements direct and concise is actually a great indicator of confidence. I was doing a CEO media training, a company that was getting ready to go public. And I was working with a colleague of mine who's a former analyst, and he made such an interesting point. He said when he used to read scripts from quarterly earnings calls, and he would look at the transcript, and he would look at the Q&A section of the transcript. And before he read a word of it, he could see a question that was asked by an analyst. He'd see a question that was asked, and then he'd look at the CEO or CFO response. And if it was a big block of text, he knew there was something wrong with the company. Before even reading a word of it, he knew that either the CEO was not confident, was inexperienced, or they weren't sure of the answer, he wasn't well prepared, or there was something that he was afraid of saying.
Yeah. You must be making waves where you are right now, helping businesses. I mean, this is really excellent information. I have known you a while, and just hearing you speak, it's wonderful, very helpful. Is there anything else you want to cover or that I didn't ask, or in terms of your services, your gifts?
Well, I would say the one thing left that I would say in terms of professional presence and executive presence is that over all else, the key to having great professional presence is actually being present. So being an active participant, whether you're leading the meeting or whether you're just there as a listener, be an active listener, right? So keep your focus on what is happening. Take some notes. That shows that you're an active listener, that you're engaged in the conversation. Nod, ask questions. Don't be multitasking. If you're on a Zoom, don't be looking at other windows or sending a text. Don't be looking down at your phone. Be present. And that actually is really important to having that executive presence because it's cyclical. There's reciprocity to that. When you show others that you're respecting them and valuing their contribution, then they have more reason to do the same for you.
Right. So, anything else you want to add or anything else that might be helpful? Last tips?
Last tips are think about your appearance, well-groomed. Certainly you should bring in your personal style, but you also want to make sure that your appearance is meeting the general culture of the work environment. If you're in
so not too casual, not too dressed, like
you're in corporate space versus a very lax, creative space, then that's going to be a different bar to meet. In a work at home environment, there can be a tendency to roll out of bed and right onto the Zoom. But at least from the torso up, you should be having a professional appearance.
Yeah. I think like that.
Communication style, I would say slow it down, have great eye contact, remember your audience and what are their needs. What do you want them to be able to walk away with? Practice and make sure that you are keeping that in mind so that they are walking away with value from their interaction with you. And then gravitas is about stay calm, stay poised. You don't have to have every answer in that moment. Let them know that you'll do the research necessary and get back to them with a thoughtful response. And that will really increase your ability to influence and persuade, which is what gravitas is all about.
These are wonderful tips and skills that we can focus on to develop. I hope everyone has gotten as much benefit out of this as I have. To connect with Joy and learn more about developing your own personal presence, you can reach out to her on LinkedIn at LinkedIn, Joy Murphy Stewart, because I know there's that tricky little URL you have to use, but LinkedIn, Joy Murphy Stewart. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate you spending a little time with me.
It's been my pleasure, Deborah. Thank you so much.